Got my coffee. Let's watch some stuff.
Most shocking plot twists in history. Stick around to the end because you won't believe this one, but it's true. Back in 1958, a gifted 16-year-old student was attending Harvard University when he was accepted into a 3-year-long psychological experiment. This study was being run by psychologist Henry Murray, who gave the young man the codename Lawful. What Lawful didn't know was that Murray's experiment was actually part of the CIA's sinister psychological program known as MK-Ultra. This particular experiment was designed to test the effects of stress on the human psyche. The CIA wanted to know how far you can mentally push someone before they cracked. In the experiment, the 22 Harvard test subjects, including Lawful, were first asked to write a detailed essay in which they summarized their worldview and personal philosophy. But after that, a team of trained interrogators under Dr. Murray's guidance proceeded to subject these students to harsh and personally abusive interrogations designed to destroy their worldview and psychologically destroy them. By the time the experiment was over, Lawful was completely disillusioned and emotionally scarred. Later in life, Lawful would form a new view of the world and begin to write it all down. You may have even read some of his manifesto. You see, that's because Lawful's real name was Theodore Kaczynski, better known as the Unabomber.
So back in the 1950s, it took the CIA 3 years to turn a young, intelligent person into a mass murderer. Now I think they've got it down to what, like 3 days? 4?
So the video you see on the screen right now, it's from the 1950s. People speak about anti-gravity. It's not anti-gravity, it's electromagnetic levitation. And it's the type of technology that they had in the Second World War, and of course way before in the 19th and 18th and 17th centuries. It's what we wrongly understand as Tartaria or Tartary. It's not that, it's beyond that, it's more than that. But for the sake of understanding, the reset of humanity and what happened to the previous civilization that built the Americas and Europe and what we call today Russia and Siberia. So yeah, this is kind of like everything is electromagnetism. Everything is like extracting the energy from the ether, which was forbidden. And at the beginning of the 20th century, it was forbidden specifically by law to be able to use free energy and to extract the energy from the ether, etc. So yeah, there you go. It's just for your own knowledge.
I don't know. There were some blurry lines in there. The video looked a little fake. I mean, it was good. It was a good one, but it looked a little fake to me. Looked like one of these flying around.
So today I want to share with you one of the creepiest and most disturbing commercials ever aired on national TV. So this takes place during the 1950s about a company called Dorothy Gray. Now this company was selling a facial cream that was supposed to protect your skin from all sorts of dirt, and they went as far as even proving that this works even against radiation. So I will let the video of the commercial speak for itself. Here it goes.
Busy you, in and out of doors every day. Think how much dust and dirt settle on your skin. And makeup clings to your skin too and clogs pores. That's why your face needs a thorough cleansing each day. And that's why cleansing tests were made by an independent testing laboratory. This same kind of dirt was made just radioactive enough to register on a Geiger counter. Leading cleansing creams, complexion soaps, and Dorothy Gray Salon Cold Cream were used to remove this dirt. The Geiger counter proved that Dorothy Gray Salon Cold Cream cleanses up to 2.5 times more thoroughly than any soap or other cleansing cream tested.
This company literally applied radioactive dust to her face in order to prove a point.
Oh my goodness. They put radioactive material on someone's face to show how clean their soap is? But does the soap actually remove radioactive materials? Don't you need like special procedures and processes to remove these radioactive materials? Oh my God, I wonder if that lady's still alive. Wow, what kind of damage that did to her face. That reminds me of the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz. Now I know the paint that they used on the gentleman that played him, that did a real number for him. I think that ultimately is what caused him to pass away. I'm gonna have to look that up. Give me just a second. All right, so here's what the Google machine says. Apparently, Buddy Ebsen was originally hired to play the Scarecrow, and then he switched roles with Ray Bolger in order to have the Tin Man role. And the makeup was making him sick 9 days into filming. He had shortness of breath and was sent to the hospital, and then at one point his lungs failed. And then he was replaced by Jake Haley. Now, Buddy Ebsen actually did outlive them. He was a great actor.
Did a handsome alien really visit the Pentagon in the 1950s to save us from nuclear annihilation? Or is this just another urban legend that got out of hand? That's right, fellow seekers of the paranormal and unexplained. Today we're talking about Valiant Thor, the alien being who allegedly came to Earth to share futuristic technology, end all war, and show off his notable lack of fingerprints. You know, just typical alien things. The story of Valiant Thor begins with a man who was aptly named Frank E. Stranges, and a book called The Stranger at the Pentagon. In this book, Stranges claims that during the 1950s, President Eisenhower was visited by an alien from the planet Venus, who calls himself Valiant Thor. Other than a few minor differences, Valiant Thor looked pretty much the same as any human. Far from the stereotype of little green men that dominated alien media at the time, this Venusian was, if anything, extraordinarily good-looking, because being from another planet to save us from our barbaric ways wasn't enough. The alien had to be hot. The story goes that on March 16, 1957, an alien spacecraft landed in Alexandria, Virginia, its pilot intent on speaking to the Pentagon. He was ushered in to meet with President Eisenhower and then Vice President Nixon and given VIP status. Numerous military and intelligence personnel were called in to address the situation, and allegedly, so was Frank E. Stranges. Stranges, who is described in the book as a minister, theologian, ufologist, and private investigator, was for some reason asked to speak with Valiant Thor and given license to share his story and his warnings with the world. It's worth noting that what most tellings of the Valiant Thor story leave out is that the man from Venus wasn't alone. He brought with him 3 additional aliens Stranges refers to as Jill, Dawn, and Tanya. Interestingly, there are quite a few photographs purporting to show Valiant Thor, who Stranges sometimes refers to as Vi, and his 3 crew members. Maybe Valiant Thor found a kindred spirit in the evangelical minister because he had a mission of his own, to intervene on behalf of humanity, offering advancements in health and technology, urging disarmament and promoting peace. In fact, the alien claimed his kind had visited humanity on numerous occasions, including 1945, when they surrounded the Earth with 100 ships in order to prevent the atomic bomb from unleashing even more catastrophic consequences into the atmosphere that could have ended all life on Earth, which, Thor claimed, would have devastating ripple effects throughout the galaxy. In the book The Stranger at the Pentagon, Stranges gives some key details about this supposed life on Venus, including the fact that Valiant Thor and his alien brethren lived underground, as do many other alien species. He also offered to share their ways of growing food and medicine that would prevent us from ever getting sick, to which the response was, "No thanks, it would wreck the economy." And honestly, that may just be the most convincing bit in this whole ordeal. After exactly 3 years of trying and failing to convince Earthlings to change our warlike ways, Thor finally returned to his spacecraft on March 16, 1960. He seemingly teleported and reassembled his atoms back inside the spaceship before taking off back home, only to be told to go back and essentially do Earth things while continuing to spread the alien gospel. How is that for a bad reward? So, by now you're probably wondering, is there any evidence other than the book Stranges wrote that Valiant Thor was a real alien who actually came to visit the Pentagon? And the answer is, no, not really. But that hasn't stopped him from being a persistent urban legend who's inspired numerous media representations, most recently a whole character and story arc on American Horror Story.
I believe you've been expecting me. My name is Valiant Thor.
Whether or not you believe in Valiant Thor, his story has left a mark. It encapsulates our collective fascination with extraterrestrial life, the fear and hope of the Cold War era, and the enduring human desire for salvation from above. I'll turn it over to you. Do you believe Valiant Thor was a real alien sent from Venus to save humanity, or just another creative urban legend?
Thanks for sticking with me. I know that was a long one, but I got some points to make here. Now, this doesn't shock me that much. Aliens, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Shielding the Earth to protect the universe from our stupid nuclear weapons, doesn't surprise me. What does surprise me is that they offered ways of growing food and medicines to help prevent mankind from getting sick, and our government said no. It would disrupt our economy. Disrupt our economy. Oh, what are we doing? I see that video and it makes me think that one of these days it's going to be part of the documentary, kind of the same way that the original Wright brothers images of them, you know, their first test flights and stuff like that. That's going to be a good one. I'd watch it. Hey, I just wanted to take a second to say thank you for stopping by for today's coffee talk. If you're having a good time, maybe you should hit that subscribe button, take a look at a few of my other videos, or just come back tomorrow because I'm making a new video every single day.
I thought I had heard about the worst human experiments, but I was wrong. So back in the 1950s, there was a woman named Gail who went to the doctor complaining about anxiety. And the doctor told her they had this new treatment for anxiety if she wanted to try it. Also, I did a whole episode on this story if you want to hear the entire thing. So first he brings Gail into this room where he tells her he's going to give her a few electroshocks, which was normal at the time. But then without preparing her, he gives her 15 times the maximum dosage of electroshocks. And after he does this, Gail starts writhing around on the floor and sucking her thumb, acting like a baby. Her brain was so scrambled from the shocks, she thought she was a child again. But this is exactly what the doctor wanted. So after all this happens, he gets Gail out of there and he puts her straight into a drug-induced coma. And when she's in the coma, he starts playing tapes on a loop for her, and some of them say things like, "I'm a good member of society." So the experiment the doctor was running was he wanted to see if he could take Gail's personality out of her through electroshocks and drugs, and then put another one inside of her. Gail was kept in this study for months, and she was released with the other subjects once the doctor figured out that what he was doing wasn't working. Anyways, the story is wild, and you should check out the full episode if you want to hear the whole thing.
Yeah, but did it help her anxiety? Yeah, I know, that was crazy insensitive, but that does sound about on par with the government testing on people without their consent, or well, consent thinking they're gonna be there for some kind of treatment, and then it turns into replacing your mind. Well, I mean, it didn't obviously because it didn't work, but the attempt was there.
Operation Midnight Climax was a covert CIA program that ran from the 1950s to the 1970s. The conspiracy theory surrounding this operation suggests that it was part of a larger mind control experiment conducted by the government. It is believed that the CIA used brothels in San Francisco and New York as fronts to dose unsuspecting customers with LSD while observing their reactions through one-way mirrors. The objective was to study the effects of the drug on behavior and potentially find ways to use it for mind control purposes. Critics claim that the CIA's involvement in drug experiments went beyond mere research, accusing them of intentionally testing and spreading drugs to manipulate and control certain groups of people. Although there is evidence that Operation Midnight Climax occurred, the extent and ulterior motive of the project remain open to speculation, fueling conspiracy theories.
Yep, the government using illicit drugs to control a population. But it sounds like they were only trying to control the men that went to brothels. So...
To understand why these bunkers were created, you have to rewind to the 1950s. For some, it was America's golden age. But it was also the dawn of a ruthless fight for global supremacy.
The United States and the Soviet Union stand on the verge of direct military confrontation,
in which both sides built up an arsenal of spectacularly powerful weapons that meant the next World War would not last years, but minutes.
There might be as little as 15 minutes notice of an attack that could wipe out much of civilization as we know it.
No, I've been hearing about this a lot lately, and I know you have too. Recently, we're hearing about all these millionaire elite having bunkers built. And It's just crazy. We got Biden's having one made. We've got Musk has got one going on. Facebook dude, whatever the heck his name, Zuckerberg, he's got one. And why? Why? It's like they know something that we don't know. Let me know what you think. Well, I've reached the bottom. Thanks for having coffee with me today. I'll see you tomorrow.